Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's July 21st. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and it was all uphill again today. This is like a spike and channel up here. Um, there may be a bigger pattern here as well, but I use the shorter term. Uh, Early on, I was looking at this yellow, and it looks valid, but in the end, I think if you were better off to play the green channel. Once we started getting resistance here and found support again. I think the green channel didn't really matter. We bounced out of there, came back, tested a few times, and then finally can see this here. This is how you really want to see this play out. Notice how we tested that resistance a few times. At first it didn't hold, but then this trend line held, and then the resistance held as support, and then prices went higher from there. We even came back and tried to test it again. And so that gives you confidence that we're probably going higher there. So either way you looked at this, I think you're okay. Prices tried to come back and make a new low. It looks like there's a very mild close outside. There's nothing convincing about that. So, but it's obvious this prices were clearly in this channel, but we never make a new low. I think the sideways green range won out in the end. So either way you saw that, you're probably okay. It was a little easier to trade and gave you a little better picture if you use the green channel, which I didn't change to that till we turned down here again. Early it just looked like this yellow channel was trending down, and uh, you would expect we did get a close out here at a new high, but again, that's not a very convincing one, so it wouldn't surprise me if we ran up and tried to make a new high and then turned down. But in the end, we just went into this blue two-tier channel and went higher. So not a lot of trades today, but there's some good ones here. We'll back out. We'll go through the trades, and we'll wrap the day up. But also, you would have looked for, notice there was two legs up there pretty early, and that was another reason that to look for this measured move, and then we might turn down from there, but it didn't happen. We just continue to go higher. But you can clearly see the two measured legs, and we found that resistance there and turned down, but the uptrend wins out in the end. So that sell-off, we're recovering from that sell-off. People probably perceiving the market at a little value. I mean, we're already back to 43.55, so we're almost back to 4,400 already. So it's a crazy market. But anyway, let's back out here, go through the trades, and we'll wrap this day up. 7 o'clock came just as we're making this bottom here. We run up, you get a first entry, second entry. So if this fails here and breaks higher, that's the place you probably want to go long. It's a failed second entry short. It's also a second entry long. It's not a great signal bar. Notice the new high, first entry, second entry. Again, that's not a great signal bar. It's fairly bullish to almost neutral. I mean, it opened way down here, so no matter where it closes, it's got a bullish tint. But that's still a lot of stem there. But the fact that it was a failed second entry short, if it breaks higher there, this is probably going to trap a lot of shorts. Almost guaranteed this is going to trap a lot of shorts because that is so bearish looking. If it would have broke one tick lower and then turned up, it probably would have got some more. But we're probably already getting some shorts piling in here anyway. That's why that bar looks so big. And then it reverses and it just traps them and it runs up real quick. And that's why you get this fast, quick, bullish move up. And then once they've run all the stops, then it kind of just starts going sideways again. Market's trying to find direction here. There's actually two legs back here. This is not a second entry long, but there's clearly two swings back. It's a little bit sideways actually. There's some congestion and stuff there, but there's a new swing low there. It's lower than that one. So I looked at this as you tried to go short, and then it tried to go higher, and then it comes back down again and tries to go higher. So you could also look at this as a double bottom, and you get a first entry and then a second entry. So there's a couple different ways to look at that one, but the fact that it's off that key entry point with that bullish bar and so many attempts to go short there, you try to go down once, twice, three times. I like that trade. It's not perfect, so I did make it green. It's a little bit aggressive, but I like that trade. Um, and that turns out to be a really good move. And you would have got a runner on that one. And then, of course, we come back here, and we did get the new low there. So first entry, second entry. So when it breaks higher there, it's a failure. That's another failed second entry short. Relatively small bar. I mean, 5 ticks, very low risk. It's a little bit congestive, but there's also a hidden second entry in there too. I like that trade. Again, it's right at the key entry point. There's a slight close outside, but probably going to keep running higher. And you really don't get another chance to enter this one. We get up here and we just go sideways. You don't want to enter in this. It looks like a little tight congestion there. When it drops down, it drops an equal distance. So then you got to figure, hey, maybe we got a 2-tiered range. But I was looking at this yellow, the yellow 2-tiered channel, and not so much as it being flat yet, because that's a pretty good move down. Then you get a first entry, second entry, and then you get the next leg down. And so we're making higher highs and higher lows. There is a 2-legged correction, which could lead to another move higher, which it does. So when you get the second entry long here on this failed break lower, that far away from the EMA, you may want to take that trade. It's not a great signal bar, but it's close to being in the top 1/3, and it's a long way away from the EMA. You could play it just as a little congestion with that little trap. When it breaks lower right there, it makes a new low and then instantly reverses. We're probably at least headed back to the EMA and probably back into the range, or back into, at the very least, if you're looking at the channel, which you might have still been looking at the channel here, you're headed back to the trend line for sure, probably. And this thing just pushes right on through. It tries to go lower a few times, can't do it. This one's tempting here too, because it looks a little bit like this right here. It's a little 1 tick lower, and you got a little bit of room back that. So it's another one you might trade, because it is a first entry, second entry, so it's another failed second entry short. So I didn't mark that one, but you could at least argue for it to be green. And then we do run up and we find that same resistance. We come up here once, we come back twice, 3 times. That's also a second entry short. Of course, when you're in sideways stuff, you don't look at that so much. But I do like the triple test at the high of what's clearly resistance now. So it's not a perfect setup again, but it's one you may take just to ride it back down to the lows. And we may make a new low on this yellow channel. So doesn't happen, we bounce at those same lows again. No setup here to go long, and you can't go long right into the resistance. There's not enough evidence to say we're going to be able to get through there at this point. It does push through and run on up, but it's too dangerous trying to trade that. So it quickly fails. It comes back down, and prices try to get through that. What was resistance from over here is now acting as support. They do push through, but I don't see any short set up, and then it comes right back. It tests it once, twice, and you get a failed second entry short. If it breaks higher there, we're probably going higher. And it does confirm that trend line right there too. And it runs up. You got a little 2-tiered channel. You get a break, a couple of swings to a new high, and then you get 2 legs of correction again. There's actually a second entry long right there. But I looked at this as a higher low. There's 2 matching lows right there, and it's a little bit higher. That's a very bullish bar. It's right off the key entry point, right off the support of what was resistance. I like going long there. Clearly with 2 legs back, they're building some momentum there, and it takes on off. You don't get another chance to really enter this. There's a failure here, but you're not even back to the EMA. So, and then we push through the EMA and make a second leg down, and then you make a second entry long. So notice that new high, first entry, come back, and then your second entry, and it fails quickly. The key here is, do you enough room back to the trend line? And notice how we came up short. Notice how the 2 tries now, legs up, and we can't get back to the highs of this trend channel. That's not a good sign. So we're probably going to overshoot at that amount, at least on this side. And so I like going short there. You got to make sure you got enough room to get out, because if you hit that trend line, see how it bounces right there, or it tries, it makes that tiny doji, but it just keeps going. There's just too much selling right there. And the clues are that we couldn't get back to this trend channel. We made 2 legs up without either one of them getting back to that trend channel line. And so we're probably going to get a break right here. But just to be safe, that's why this one's green. It is a failure. And so it's probably going to trap people. And you can see, even though when it really shot through there, that's when it ran the stops real quick. Most of them probably gave it a little more room to do that trend line. People that were long already. And it runs down and it actually overshoots this channel. And look how far we are away from the EMA again. It looks, we just had that similar thing here. And that's a good signal bar. So you may risk that one, especially with that overshoot. I did mark it green. It's definitely aggressive. We run up, we make a first entry, we make a second entry. Normally I wouldn't like a second entry long here, but that's clearly a very bullish move. And so with that failure right there going higher, notice that what's holding is that midline, and you can see it's been playing that midline all the way up through there. So with that nice bullish bar, if it breaks higher, it didn't take off like I thought it would. It ends up working, but you would have had to ride this out. But I like that trade. Typically you want it to bounce off the EMA, but when I saw this in real time and with it bouncing off that EMA, you got to think, hey, we're going to push on up and test that upper channel finally. And it takes it a minute, but it does do that. So but anyway, that's what I saw today. Not a lot of trades. There's a few good ones. Only shorts I saw were off this resistance. Once you see we're trending higher again. I did like this one simply for what we talked about. It's aggressive, but it is a failed second entry long, and we came up so short here twice trying to go higher. And it wasn't because of the midline, because we pushed across it both times, but it couldn't hold. That's telling you something there. And so just make sure you got enough room to get out. You may have to let that break lower and drop a limit order a tick or so back if there's not room. I'm not sure how many ticks are in there exactly, but that's how way you'd have to play it if there's not enough room there. Wouldn't have mattered, but you don't know that ahead of time. So you got to play it properly and play the odds, and otherwise there's a good chance you could get stopped out, because it could come down just like right here and bounce and go higher. So you got to have enough room there. That's the only key to that. I'm just curious. Let me just measure it and see. I think there is enough room. It's not going to miss it by much. Well, let's just go to where it hit, where it touched right there. Yeah, that's only 4 ticks, so that wouldn't have been enough. And if it had bounced, you'd have been in trouble. So that's why you'd had to get another tick or two in there to be safe, because it could have turned up there. So it's a trap, so it's probably not, but you still have to play the odds, and the odds say, with no break of that yet. The clue is the fact that we didn't get up, is this gap right in here and this gap right in here where we don't reach the upper side of the channel twice. So even this time we didn't reach it, but they pulled back and got some more momentum and pushed on up again. So anyway, that's what I saw today. I'm not going to beat around the bush. We'll make this one short and sweet today. And we'll be back again tomorrow to wrap up our week. So I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.